We know Bills Mafia is ready as you take a look at those odds to win the Super Bowl. There are the Buffalo Bills sitting as your preseason favorite at plus 600, followed by the Bucs and the Chiefs. Many would argue had the Bills not lost to the Chiefs in the divisional round, they would have gone ahead to win the Super Bowl. However, that is not what happened. So now we are entering this season with the Bills as the favorite yet again. Let's welcome in NFL quarterback Brady Quinn here. So Bills entering the season with very high expectations as Super Bowl favorites. Only 6 times, I believe, in history has the preseason favorite actually gone on to win the Super Bowl. How high are the Bills on your list right now?
They're right up at the top. I mean, look, this is one of the most deep, most talented rosters that you're looking for. And so they're one of those teams where you say, okay, do they have the quarterback? Check. What about the head coach? I believe in Sean McDermott. I believe in the staff. I even think the elevation of Ken Dorsey from the quarterback coach to the offensive coordinator and then bringing in a guy like Joe Brady is going to pay off huge dividends for them instead of going outside of their coaching staff to find that answer at play caller after Brian Daboll left to take the New York Giants head coaching job. So they really check all the boxes. I mean, Trey White will eventually be back to be that lockdown corner, but they went with Kyrie Elam in the first round. They've got depth there already. So they're fine. You bring in Von Miller in the offseason to help add to that pass rush that's already deep. I mean, every single position group you're looking at should be excited about, what they're bringing to the table. So there's no doubt they're one of the top teams as far as the odds makers think to win a Super Bowl, but one of the most talented in the NFL, one that has depth to and can really sustain through injuries this season.
What do you think is Josh Allen as the favorite to win MVP right now, plus 700, followed up by Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, Tom Brady, then back-to-back MVP Aaron Rodgers? What are Josh Allen's chances right now?
Well, look at plus 700. I mean, you like the value you get for it, him being one of the favorites. The reality is it's tough when you're a preseason favorite for MVP to win it. Since 2010, we've only seen that happen twice, Tom Brady in 2017 and Peyton Manning in 2013. And both those guys, when you look at them, they already had won Super Bowls. They've already had a ton of success. Josh Allen's had success. He hasn't had that sort of success yet. So we'll see if they can replicate it as a team and he can hold on to it and win it. But he's talented enough to get it. It really just comes down to me, in my opinion, that relationship I mentioned a minute ago with him and Ken Dorsey and how fast those two can get on the same page, developing their chemistry between a play caller and a quarterback. But even more so for Ken Dorsey, how fast as a play caller he can identify what the really identity of the team is offensively. You're always going to have some changes. You're always going to have some things that evolve over time. This is a team that last year really hung its hat on Stephon Diggs, but Gabriel Davis has come along. He's looking like a nice little 1-2 punch next to Stephon Diggs in the passing game. And I think they've added some depth at the running back position to help out their rushing attack. So this might be more of a balanced attack than I think we've seen in the past for the Buffalo Bills.
We're going to talk about Gabriel Davis here in a second, but first, let's do some props. Why not? Josh Allen over under 34.5 passing touchdowns last season, had 36. Which way are you leaning on this one?
Oh, over. I mean, look, they went over. He's gone over this number the past couple of seasons now. I think he's going to stay on that upward trajectory, even if they add some more rushes in there with the stable of running backs that they have. But, with the emergence of a guy like Gabriel Davis and the way he's come along, I think that's only going to embolden Ken Dorsey to utilize some of those matchups that he's going to get with Gabe Davis in single coverage while everyone else focuses on Stephon Diggs. So I like the over of this number. I don't think they're going to calm down throwing the football. I think they realize now this is a passing league. They're going to have to. They have one of the best bright budding stars tossing the football around the park for them.
So what about Stephon Diggs then over under 1,225 and a half receiving yards? Caesars, I should say, spot on with his number last year, 1,225, over under the hook added on to that.
Yeah, it's funny, right? They had that hook, and you go, I don't know. He did go over it last year, but I mean, come on, talking about a half a yard here. And he blasted it out of the water 2 years ago. So I like the over on this one as well. Again, just from spending time with Ken Dorsey as a player, one of his best attributes was how cerebral he was as a quarterback. And really just from his days at the University of Miami, the way he was coached with the likes of guys like a Rob Chudzinski, who helped him understand how to game plan, how to watch film and break things down. But more importantly, move around those mismatches and guys like Stephon Diggs to get him touches or find open space. So I've got a lot of respect and high praise for Ken Dorsey. I think he'll find ways of manufacturing touches for Stephon Diggs to help him go over this number.
You mentioned Gabriel Davis a couple times. What are your expectations for him? How much of a breakout season could we see? We saw the breakout performance in the playoff game against the Chiefs, 4 receiving touchdowns there. How much is he going to build on last season and the season before?
I mean, that's the biggest thing, right? It's all about confidence. And I think when you have a performance like that, you kind of say to yourself, like, all right, I can do this. Like, I'm that caliber of player, especially in a big moment like that. So when you look at the numbers during the course of the regular season, it's somewhat pedestrian, it's somewhat more average when you're looking at in comparison to everyone else, at least on the roster or around the NFL. I think the hardest thing for him is he's going to be the number 2 option. But what does that mean? I mean, Khalil Shakir, their 5th round pick from this year's draft, he's had a nice preseason so far. He's going to factor into that. Isaiah McKenzie's extremely twitchy, and he can play that slot role and make a lot of yards after the catch. He's going to get his targets. So I think he's obviously in for a year for improvement. I don't know that we're going to throw him up there next to the likes of a Cooper Kupp like we're comparing on this graphic right now.
The Bills didn't have to make a ton of moves this offseason. The biggest one they did get was Von Miller. What is his impact going to be?
It's a great question, and it's hard to answer because if you go back to last year, obviously his sack numbers were improved when he got to the Los Angeles Rams, and you'd say, yeah, of course that's going to be the case. Every single offensive line's focusing on Aaron Donald and where Aaron Donald is, and finally Von Miller's not that key point of focus. On this Buffalo Bills front, it's a little harder to say that. I mean, they don't have that one dominating guy. Ed Oliver's solid. Greg Russo's a young player developing and finding his way there. I don't know that you're looking at anyone and saying, all right, we need to focus on him outside of Von Miller. Von Miller's probably the guy you're saying we need to chip, we need to slide the line that way. That's the guy we're going to give help to in our pass protection scheme. So I think it's going to be kind of similar to what we saw back in Denver. He's going to get a lot more attention. He's going to have a lot harder time finding those one-on-ones in order to get to the quarterback. And let's not forget, he hasn't had a double-digit sack season in the regular season since 2018, and he is getting up there in age. So, look, I think the biggest thing for him, and I wouldn't be shocked if this didn't happen, if he didn't eventually develop into, kind of a pass rush specialist, and he's only coming in on passing downs, because you've got AJ Epinesa, you have Boogie Basham there as well, who you've drafted in recent years, and those guys can kind of provide some more depth for you on some of those early downs, and let Von Miller do what he does best. So there's no doubt he's going to have an impact. I just don't know if we're going to see it in the stat sheet or box score quite as much as what maybe people are anticipating.
Bills 11-6 record last season. Again, Vegas adding just the hook there. 11.5 wins is their win total right now. Over or under 11.5?
I'm going to say the over, but their schedule is not easy, and we'll get into that. But I think when you look at the second half, and look at the start, 4 of your first 6 are on the road, then you have an early-ish bye, which is the one thing I hate. It's okay, obviously, if it's in the middle or late, but it's more early-ish. And then after that, things starting to lighten up for you. You're going to be having 2 games versus the Jets. I think those are wins for Buffalo. You got the Lions on there as well, the Bears. And really, you're looking at that Cleveland Browns game. That's still versus a backup quarterback, so that's a little more advantageous for you. So things soften up for them. I think they'll make some ground there. I'm going to take the over just because what I've seen this preseason is they're beating the crap out of everyone. And I keep mentioning that depth because that's something you're able to see in the preseason. They've got it. So even with some injuries, they can still sustain it and they can still overcome that at almost every position on their roster. So I'm betting the over. It could be tight because I do think everyone in that division's gotten better in the offseason. But the Bills are just the best.
So let's look at an overall betting breakdown. See if you like any of these numbers here, any of the value. Obviously, they're the favorite in each of these. Minus 230 to win the AFC East, plus 300 to win the AFC, and plus 600 to win the Super Bowl.
To me, it's the AFC and the Super Bowl bets. I think that's where you find more value for it. I mean, obviously, it's a given. You could probably take it to the bank if you want to add minus 230 for them to win the division. But you find greater value at the AFC Championship. And I think that's, where that would be the first bet I'd place. And the Super Bowl, if I feel that confident in them being able to beat what would be likely Green Bay, Tampa Bay, whoever want to throw in that conversation. Maybe it's the Los Angeles Rams or the Arizona Cardinals. Surprise everyone. It's that team. So we'll see who ends up being the dominant team on NFC. But I think whoever is, coming out of the AFC, to me, there's a lot more parity. And even though obviously they didn't win it last year, I just think it's going to be an AFC winner this year. I think you're going to see, whether it's the Bills, the Chiefs, whoever you want to throw in that conversation. Maybe the Bengals make it back and win this year. Someone's going to emerge from the AFC. I think the AFC takes the title this year.
Let's go week 1. Bills at Rams. The total's 52. The Bills 2.5 on the road. We know Bills Mafia is going to be there. Not sure about the Rams fans, even though it's at home. What do you think about this game week 1 for the Bills?
Yeah, if you had a hard time getting fans out to their Super Bowl celebration, it might be tough then selling them for a week 1 matchup, even though it's the kickoff of the season. That being said, I like the under. That's my favorite play on this one. I think this number is pretty high for two teams that have very good defenses, especially with the Rams being able to sign back Aaron Donald and obviously the addition of Von Miller to the Buffalo Bills. So I like the under the best of anything. I'll lay the 2.5 points here with Buffalo. I just think they're the better team, and I think they're probably the hungrier team based on how their season ended with that just disastrous collapse against the Kansas City Chiefs, and how the rules have changed now almost to give Buffalo now a shot if they're ever in that situation again. But I like the Bills. I like the odds this year of them winning, obviously, the over of that 11.5 games. I think this is one of those wins that I chalked up in their season total.
Brady Quinn, we appreciate it. 2 weeks until the start of the NFL season. We'll talk to you very soon. Speaking of the beginning of the NFL season, make sure to check it out. The NFL returning to CBS on September 11th. You can stream it on Paramount+. Great games that day, including the Baker Mayfield revenge game, Cleveland at Carolina. Also, Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs traveling down to Arizona to visit Kyler Murray and the Cardinals. Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.